The Oilers' defense, it's still trash. Adam Fantilli, could he really be the number one pick? And Brady Tkachuk, did you see what he did this weekend? Hey, hockey fans, welcome back. Welcome in if this is your first time joining us for Today in Hockey. I'm Josh, this is the Hockey Flow, and today it's Sunday, December 4th, 2022, and it's time for Weekly Observations. That's right, we go ahead and take a look at three storylines that have emerged from hockey action, mostly NHL, but we're going to change it up a little bit today, as you'll see. But we dive deep into three storylines and see what's emerged. We dive deep into the data using JFresh Hockey, hockey prospecting, hockey stat cards, you name it, we're probably going to use it. So stick around for that. If you do enjoy the content, take a moment. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to keep bringing you hockey videos at least weekly, and we also like to sprinkle in some streams and some other fun videos. So we want to make sure you never miss a beat. I do appreciate you guys. You are absolutely the best. So all right, let's get into it. First up, as always, Oilers Corner. So I am an Oilers fan. Let's go Oilers. Got our Draisaitl jersey hanging up. Got our Oilers Ave sign right here. That's right. We're on Oilers Avenue right now. And lately, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, peaks and valleys. But this week, very positive. We were 3-1 on the week. We did beat Florida, Chicago, and Montreal. We probably should have beat two of the three, absolutely. But beating Florida is a nice little perk. But honestly, they haven't been playing as good as they had to start the season, and we did lose to Minnesota, but again, I'm not going to worry too much about that because Minnesota has actually been playing really well lately. I know they started out pretty rough, but recently they've been playing a lot better. Fleury's kind of got his stuff in a group, so good for them, but it's tough. We're still in fourth place in our division, the Pacific. We are behind the Kings, but we do have two games in hand. The Seattle Kraken, man, they are still playing great, and the Vegas Golden Knights are absolutely running it still in first place. Let's take a look at our team card, courtesy of JFresh Hockey. We're going to check in. We've been monitoring our progress on this puppy as well. Thank you for this, Mr. JFresh. We look at our goals for and goals against. Both of those are still in the red, and that's no good, but they are making their way up a little bit. We see that goals for is not as dark red. The goals against, still a little dark red, 21st and 24th respectively, but the real dark red, penalty kill percentage, 28th in the league. We are absolutely terrible at that. And why is that? Because our defense has been trash this season. Collectively, individually, we have just not been very good defensively. And there are a few individuals we can call out. Honestly, it just feels like pick your poison each week. This week, we're going to highlight Darnell Nurse. But first, before we get to the bad, let's highlight the good. Philip Broberg did get to make his season debut, and he's been getting a little bit of ice time recently, 11 minutes, or averaging 11 minutes, as we can see, courtesy of that hockey stat card. Big shout out to them. Make sure you guys check those out. But we do see his game score not quite positive just yet, negative 0.28. Hopefully we see him start to turn the corner, because I tell you what, we see others from that draft class, and Broberg just kind of leaves us wanting more. But I have faith in him. Give him some more ice time. He's looked okay. Hasn't given up anything too egregious. Looked a lot better last game. But now let's move on to the ugly, right? We're going to talk about the good. Here's the bad. Darnell Nurse. My goodness. I see folks on Twitter giving Dom a hard time for putting Nick Suzuki on his worst contracts in the NHL list, which we did talk about that article a long time ago. Be sure to check out that video. But at the time, I did look at Darnell Nurse's contract and think, my goodness, that's a pretty large number. And now that contract looks even worse. He's getting paid north of $9 million a year, and he kind of just does his own thing on defense. Sure, we have some brilliant moments occasionally. We even had one the other day that led to a goal, but if you watched, he was out of position entirely defensively. He went rogue and just happened to luck into the puck. So every now and then, he gets something right in that regard. But we really need him to be more responsible defensively. We really do need him to start putting up better numbers in that expected goals against area as well. His game score just a little bit positive, at least 0.24. But my goodness, for what we're paying him, we absolutely need to see more. But if we're going to speak about the bad on defense, we got to speak about the good in general. The offense on this team, man, we can score goals, and that's big thanks to Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. star dynamic duo. We see NHL point leaders through 12-4. That was through this afternoon. Connor McDavid, 47 points, and Leon Draisaitl, 42. Absolutely fantastic. We need them to keep humming. Jay Woodcraft made a nice change in the lineup, playing them together right now, more so out of a need. We have so many injuries. So that leads us into our question. What should the Oilers do, Oilers fans, or just hockey fans? I'd love to get everyone's take on this. Honestly, I would love to see us make some moves, but it sounds like Ken Holland's pretty content, wants to solve everything in-house, which, okay, if injuries subside and we can get everyone back healthy, playing good, fantastic. This team was a really good team last season, and we just didn't really change too much. This team can be really good, but we need our defense to play better collectively and individually. So let me know in the comments, Oilers fans. That's going to do it for Oilers Corner. Let's move on to our next observation. All right, so we're going to do something a little bit different. I have been absolutely obsessed with college hockey recently, the NCAA, and a big part of that is Adam Fantilli and the 2023 NHL draft. Connor Bedard has been the consensus number one for as long as I can remember when we're talking about the 2023 NHL draft. And I still think he is number one overall, right? I saw Cam on Twitter post a little bit of a negative for Bedard, so folks didn't think that he's absolutely perfect, but Bedard is a little smaller in stature. Defensively does have some lapses. So the other piece, though, is who else would you take number one if you weren't going to take Bedard, right? And recent drafts, we haven't had the utmost competition and elite talent at the top of the draft. Well, this year, this draft is going to be special. And Bedard is just the tip of the iceberg. Part of that is the players playing in the NCAA right now. So we're going to highlight one in particular for the 2023 NHL draft. Then we're going to talk about three players who are absolutely tearing up the NCAA right now, but they already have been drafted and their NHL teams are just waiting for them to conclude college and make their impact in the NHL, maybe even as soon as later this season. So, all right, let's walk through these four players. These player cards are courtesy of Hockey Prospecting. Definitely check them out. He's got a lot of great tools. I absolutely love that website as well. And these cards are beautiful. So what they do is they take the player's points from whatever league he is in and equates it to the NHL equivalency. And then we take that number and compare it to others throughout history to see where they stack up, to kind of project where they'll end up. So really neat, absolutely. So first and foremost, let's take a look at Adam Fantilli. He has absolutely been tearing it up in the NCAA with the University of Michigan. 26 points in 16 games, 11 goals so far as a true freshman. 6'3", 195, can skate like the wind, controls the puck, and he's getting better. He gets better on a daily basis. If you watch his highlights and watch game tape from the beginning of the college season, and this is only 16 games, right? 16 games. And you watch highlights or watch his games now, most recently, he looks like a different player. Still absolutely dangerous, lethal in so many ways, but he looks so much more patient. He's picking his spots. He's taking his time. It's looking like the game is slowing down even more for him. So I am so excited to see what Adam Fantilli can do, and I'm a little bit partial to the bigger bodies. I know Connor Bedard is on the smaller side, and the NHL is kind of transitioning into players of smaller stature, that not being a big deal, right? Defensively, offensively, we're seeing it a lot more recently. I mean, Trevor Zegras, for example, he's not that big. We see it on every single team. Some teams are a little partial to it, right? The Calgary Flames. Neat stat on Twitter we can talk about at a later date. Let me know in the comments if you guys want to know that one. But let's get back to it. Adam Fantilli, absolutely been fantastic. If he keeps this up and keeps growing his game and keeps getting better, absolutely, he could potentially be the number one overall pick. But either way, I truly do think that whoever ends up number two, maybe even number three, depending on how the other prospects end up doing, I think there are going to be a lot of really happy teams in this 2023 NHL draft. But all right, let's move on to some of the players that have already been drafted and maybe their teams and fan bases are just waiting for them. So first up, Lane Hutson of the Montreal Canadiens, playing for Boston University. And I tell you what, he has been absolutely dynamic for Boston this season. His NHL equivalency is 40 so far this season. Absolutely fantastic. Full comps, we're seeing a Jamie Drysdale. Well, I do like that comp because Lane Hudson, the knock on Lane Hudson, the second round pick this past summer, was his size. My goodness, if you watch him skate, he is so dynamic and offensively gifted, but he's also responsible defensively, which you love to see. So I really think that the Montreal Canadiens have themselves an absolutely dynamic defender. Montreal, you guys, you have some good ones. Ken Hughes has done a really good job assembling talent. They're going to be cheap. Boy, Montreal, if all these players progress at the same rate, this team could be good sooner rather than later. Moving on to the Philadelphia Flyers, Cutter Gauthier. So this one was a player that I was very high on moving into this summer's draft. We did talk about it in our videos leading up to it, but boy, he has not disappointed for Boston College and Philadelphia Flyers fans. He has been absolutely fantastic this season. 12 points in 12 games and 8 goals, and he is dominating at center. There were questions, was he going to shift to wing? He is a big body, though. Absolutely. It wasn't a question about size with Cutter. It was more so skill. Was it the right fit? Can he really be dynamic at the centerman position and be a playmaker? And he absolutely has done a great job so far this season. He has dominated the NCAA. And we should mention Lane Hudson, 17 points in 14 games, including 6 goals. Absolutely incredible. And last but most certainly not least, I had to include Jack Pert from the Minnesota Wild, St. Cloud State University, 14 points in 16 games. I know that might not seem too outstanding. He does have a couple of goals, but I am just a huge Jack Pert fan. The Wild picked him up in the second round. Minnesota kid. I really think he has a bright future. Minnesota Wild fans, you guys should be really excited. Between Pert and Brock Faber, I think you guys have a future top pairing down the line. And again, size might be a little bit of an issue, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I wanted to know from you guys, could Adam Fantilli really go number 1 overall? Let me know down in the comments. All right, moving on to our last observation of the week, Brady Tkachuk. Brady Tkachuk is a bad man. Did you guys see what he did this weekend? So we'll get into it in just a moment, but my goodness, he is absolutely having a great season for the Ottawa Senators. He's really just continuing where he left off last season. He was named captain and really had a great impact on that team. He is their leader. He really leads by example as well. But the thing with Brady Tkachuk is he's not an analytic darling, so we are going to get into that. But first and foremost, we got to talk about what he did this weekend. He had the Gordie Howe hat trick against the Rangers, puts up 2 goals, an assist, has the fight, inspires his team to the comeback victory in overtime, including he scoring the winning goal. So Brady Tkachuk is turning into a superstar in front of our eyes. I know the Sanders team hasn't necessarily been as good as they were hoping this season, but Brady Tkachuk has absolutely been fantastic. And it's not just the eye test, it's the numbers. So let's take a look at the game score and the game card courtesy or player card courtesy of Hockey Stat Cards. We're also going to take a look at some stats courtesy of MoneyPuck. Definitely check out MoneyPuck. Love them. A great source for all sorts of fun data. And then, of course, we've got our player card courtesy of JFresh Hockey. But first and foremost, let's look at his season so far. 12 goals, 17 assists, good for 29 points. Absolutely fantastic. All 3 of those top 10 for his position. His one number, though, that really stood out was I was doing the research was the individual expected goals number. So this number is essentially telling us how many goals Brady Tkachuk should have at this point this season based on the shots, based on all the circumstances. And right now, he is leading the league in individual expected goals courtesy of Hockey Stat Cards with 16.17. And he's also leading in expected goals courtesy of MoneyPuck with 15.5. And that MoneyPuck number is even more impressive because that is out of all forwards who have played at least 400 minutes. So there aren't any flash in the pans, if you will. This is, you've been doing it consistently for the entire season. Absolutely phenomenal to see. The other people right there with him, Chris Kreider, Zach Hyman, Oilers fans. Gosh, he really needs to get some luck on his side. Some pucks will start finding the net, hopefully. John Tavares and then Timo Meier. But we see these expected goal numbers, but then we look at JFresh's player card and we see the WAR and his finishing. So what is that all about? Well, WAR, we do know, is a little bit skewed by team success, right? Right now, the Ottawa Senators aren't playing too well, but Brady Tkachuk is playing very well. But he also does have some holes in his game. So he shoots a ton and creates a lot of high danger chances. Absolutely. We see, courtesy of MoneyPuck, the graph right there. Look at all that red right around the front of the net right there. But he's only shooting 8.1%. So Brady Tkachuk gets a ton of chances in front of the net, but boy, he really isn't putting away as many as he should. So he does have 12 goals on the year, which is right where he should be based on his shooting percentage, but he is expected to be at 15.5 or 2 per every 60 minutes. So it's absolutely fantastic. I really hope Brady Tkachuk can keep this up. I think he can. The history tells us yes. The numbers have been fantastic. We have a large enough sample size. But what do you guys think? What is the limit for Brady Tkachuk? Superstar? All-time great? Or is he just going to be an all-star? Let me know down in the comments. I always love talking with you guys, but that's going to do it for another edition of Weekly Observations. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. We'll be back next week. We may have another video throughout the week on a fun topic. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you guys would like me to touch base on, but I do appreciate you guys. What does Edmonton do with their team? Will Fantilli be the #1 overall pick, or does Bedard have that sewn up? And what's Brady Tkachuk ceiling? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. Check out our other videos. I do appreciate you all. Until next time, hockey fans, cheers!